April 2023. The sun dips low over the tangled thicket of Shakahola Forest in Kilifi County, Kenya, a sprawling 400 square kilometer maze of baobab shadows, scrub acacias glowing at the sky, and hidden glades where the wind carries faint hymns. Deep in this labyrinth, hundreds of souls, families, mothers cradling infants, fathers with withered hands folded in prayer, huddle in makeshift clearings, their faces gaunt, eyes hollow with the fervor that borders on the divine. They've come here, drawn by a voice on the radio, a pastor's promise of rapture. No food for days, then weeks. Starve for Jesus, he commands. His words are serpents whisper through crackling speakers. Children whimper, bellies distended like overripe fruit. Mothers rock them silently, lips cracked, whispering, "The end is near. He will come." A skeletal figure stumbles to a shallow grave, digs with bare hands, collapsing beside the hole. No one buries them. The thicket swallows the fallen, vines creeping over limbs like nature's indifferent shroud. By May, rescuers hack through the underbush, stumbling on 429 bodies, some fresh, bloated in the heat, others mummified, eyes staring at an absent haven. Exhumations dragged into 2024, the toll climbing to 450 by September 2025. Mass graves yielding secrets, a toddler's tiny frame, a grandmother's rosary clutched in regret. This wasn't apocalypse, it was annihilation, a cult's command to self-immolate in the name of salvation, led by Paul Mackenzie, a former taxi driver turned televangelist, whose radio sermons twisted scripture into a death cult's gospel. In the heart of Kenya's coastal wilds, where the Indian Ocean's roar meets the forest's hush, a rift between faith and fanatism tore open, swallowing innocence in a slow, starving silence. Before we venture deeper into Shakahola's tangled heart, a solemn warning. This story bears the unbearable weight of a mass death. Graphic accounts of starvation, slow agony, children wasting away in their mothers' arms, families exhumed from shallow graves, and the psychological unraveling of a community seduced by a false prophecy. It's profoundly heavy, especially if you've endured loss to cults, famine, or the betrayal of trusted leaders. If the coastal thickets of Kilifi stirs memories of your own rifts in faith or family, and underneath the rift, my purpose is to illuminate the shadows with unflinching request for the 450 souls lost, not to exploit their silence, but to amplify the survivors' whispers and demand accountability from the systems that failed them. If these words cut too close, pause here, breathe, seek solemn in a loved one's voice, or reach for resources like Kenya's mental health hotlines. We are journeying to honor the dead, to question the rifts that allowed this horror, and to forge light from the ashes. Let's tread this path with care, hearts open to lessons eked in bone and thicket. Welcome to Beneath the Rift, I'm Rose Baselera, and tonight we plunge into the thorny embrace of Shakahola Forest, Kilifi County, Kenya, a verdant labyrinth where baobabs stand like ancient sentinels, and the Mijikenda people's rhythms pulse through the soil, blending coastal Swahili with the wild call of the Indian Ocean. This is a place of profound beauty and hidden peril, where fishermen from Malindi cast nets at dawn, and farmers still red earth for maize that feeds villages like Mwangaza. Yet in 2017, a shadow crept in. Paul Mackenzie, a charismatic preacher with a radio voice like honeyed prophecy, founded the Good News International Church. What began as sermons against worldly vaccines and education evolved into a doomsday doctrine. Starve your body to save your soul. Flee to the forest for the imminent rapture. By 2023, his flock, over 5,000 and at its peak, abandoned homes, jobs, lives, streaming into Shakahola's thickets to await Jesus' return through self-denial. When the rapture failed, Mackenzie's command turned lethal: die to live eternally. Hundreds obeyed, starving in family units, digging their own graves, until the forest floor became a necropolis.
I changed my phone number. We were being asked to change names. There, I was being called Miriam. It's the bodyguards who used to bring papers and would ask your name and change it because they know whoever comes to look for you shall not find you. But if you use your real name, it will be easier for you to be found when people come to look for you. The plan was to fast and pray until children, women, and men die. Mackenzie would not die after all followers died. Mackenzie said there would be feathers and he would fly to heaven and join the followers. There is a time I got into trouble when we were found eating in the daytime. I was told to raise my hands and got 10 strokes on each hand for that mistake. I was told that if they found me doing that again, they would kill me, as they had done me a favor the first time.
Rescue operations from April 2023 uncovered 429 bodies initially, rising to 450 by September 2025. The month I'm shooting this video, with mass graves still yielding remains, a slow-motion massacre that exposed drifts in Kenya's religious freedoms, regulatory voids, and seductive pool of end-times fervor. This echoes the chilling manipulations we've unraveled before. Remember, the Kanungo massacre in Uganda is the same thing. They use religion in a bad way and people end up dying. Tonight, we weave through exhaustive research, Mackenzie's full arc from taxi driver to messiah, a granular timeline of sermons to starvation, over 50 survivor and parent testimonies, investigation logs from DCI and autopsies, trial transcripts through 2025, public outrage on X and streets, and a legacy demanding cult oversight laws. From Rose Ndala's defiant escape to Pastor Mackenzie's courtroom rants, this uncompressed chronicle, drawn from court feelings, survivor memoirs, NGO reports, and coastal elders' lore, demands we confront. When faith becomes a thicket, who clears the path? Who hears the starving whispers before graves close? To understand Shakahola's horrors, we must first trace the roots, not in the thicket, but in the coastal town's dusty streets where Paul Mackenzie was born. October 30th, 1973, in a modest Mijikenda family in Malindi, Kilifi County. The son of a fisherman and a homemaker, Mackenzie grew up amid the ocean's rhythm, waves lapping at doors, markets buzzing with Swahili haggling, and the Mijikenda's ancestral kayas, sacred hilltop groves. His childhood was unremarkable. a boy kicking footballs on Malindi Beach, dreaming of something beyond the tide. By his 20s, he drifted to Nairobi, hustling as a taxi driver, flying matatus from Eastlands to the CBD. His voice a storyteller's gift, charming passengers with Bible verses and tales of divine favor. But the 1990s were turbulent. Kenya's multi-party democracy under Moi brought economic squeezes, youth unemployment soaring to like 40%, evangelical churches exploding as escapes. Mackenzie sensing a calling, enrolled at a Bible college in 2000, emerging with a self-proclaimed ordination. No formal seminary, just a firebrand zeal. Back in Malindi, he launched Jesus Media Service in 2003, a video shop peddling bootleg sermons, then pivoting to radio evangelism. By 2010, Good News International Church (GNIC) was born, a tent ministry in Furunzi, Kilifi, where Mackenzie preached against Antichrist vaccines, schools as Satan's dens, and modern medicine as idolatry. His radio show, Timiza, on 91.1 FM, blasted from Matatu speakers. End times are here. Sounds familiar? That's the same thing that happened in the Kanungu episode. If you didn't see that episode, I'm going to link it up here so that you can check it out. He goes on to be like, flee the world, starve the flesh for heaven. Followers trickled in, mostly poor Giriyama and Swahili women. Mothers like Ruth Ndala, a single parent from Twapa. I came for healing prayers after my husband's death. He promised miracles and I believed.
So I told Mackenzie not to worry and promised him that we would fulfill the will of God together, as I had an agreement with him. We found that whenever he preached, he displayed that indeed he was a servant of God. So I thought, if he got a place and began preaching, he would attract more people to be saved.
The Good News International Ministries was born in 2003 in the stone courtyard of Kahindi's family home.
So the church went on until the place became full and the space was not enough. We went to Furunzi and built a church there. One day he was called in a Mombasa church. After conducting prayers, he was released and came back. We started seeing changes. I did not follow any of his rules, and we differed because of that. Previously, I would talk to him whenever he delivered radical teachings, but after chasing me, I could not talk to him. I had abandoned him.
By 2016, the flock swelled to 1,000. Mackenzie's charisma was magnetic. Paul bespectacled with a voice like rolling thunder, quoting Revelation 18:4. Come out of her, my people, to decree government as Babylon. He married Magdalene, a devoted follower, and fathered children, molding the pure family in his anti-vaccine homeschool-only world. But rifts emerged. In 2017, Malindi authorities raided GNIC for denying medical care to a sick child. The boy died untreated. Mackenzie fled to Shakahola, buying around 80 acres of thicket for a Lord's garden, a promised land for the faithful. Here, the doctrine darkened, because obviously no doctors, no schools, nothing, just bushes, starvation and purification. Jesus fasted 40 days. You must fast for rapture. He preached in 2018 sermons. Followers sold possessions, streamed in. Farmers from Taita, fishermen from Lamu, totaling 5,000 by 2020. COVID lockdowns amplified it. People had nothing to do. Vaccines were like a mark of the beast. Shakahola as isolation heaven. By 2020, camps dotted the thicket, hearts of branches, Families fasting in phases. First 3 days, then 7, then indefinite. Early deaths were hushed. A mother, 35, collapsed in 2021 and was buried shallowly. Mackenzie said, "Oh, she's with Jesus." This background paints Mackenzie not as a monster, but architect, right? A marginal man weaponizing scripture in a Kenya where 80% are Christian and poverty, 40% are below the poverty line. And it makes end times appeals potent. His rise mirrors global cults. Jim Jones in Johanstown, David Koresh in Wako, charisma filling voids. But in Kilife's coastal rift, where Mijikenda spirits guide against imbalance, Mackenzie's gospel twisted ancestral harmony into self-destruction. From taxi chants to thicket graves, his path was a slow burn, igniting when the world ignored the smoke. Can you envision it? A radio voice luring souls from market bustle to forest silence, where hunger becomes holy, and the thicket closes like a lover's lie. And why did that line even be on radio? Because the radio gave him the masses. Anyway. The timeline of descent. The horror unfolded not in a blaze, but a creeping famine. A deliberate unraveling from 2019 to April 2023, when rescuers pierced the thicket. Let's trace it chronologically, month by month, drawing from the DCI timelines, survivor affidavits, and Mackenzie's own sermons. In 2019, The Calling to the Garden, Mackenzie's first Exodus broadcasts. Shakahola is Eden, like the land of Eden. Flee Babylon's plagues. 100 families arrive, clearing thicket with pangas, building pole and thatch huts. Fasting starts voluntarily. 3-day cleanses for healing. A diabetic woman, Mary Acheng, 42, dies after refusing insulin. Mackenzie said her soul is free. Bride in a glade, no marker. Followers, 500 by year end. That's 2019. 2020, COVID and the mark of the beast. So lockdown sealed the rift. Mackenzie bans vaccines, calls them demonic serum. Sermon transcript, March 2020. The Antichrist injects control. Starve to resist. Numbers swell to 2,000 camps, forming families of faith. As child death. Infant Elias, 6 months old, starved during a 7-day fast. Mother Sarah said he went to Jesus smiling. DCI later finds a shallow grave, bones guarded by hyenas. We go to 2021. The rapture delays. Fasts lengthen. Rapture is imminent. Fast indefinitely. Mackenzie decrees in July. Comes ration to 1 meal weekly. Maize lapse, water from streams. Survivor Ruth Ndala, 28, recalls, "My daughter, who was 4 years old, cried for ugali. I told her, endure for heaven." Her eyes dulled like dying coals. 20 deaths reported internally. Graves in sacred groves. Mackenzie's wife, Magdalene, enforces. Women led the fasts. The flock, 3,500. 2022, the turning point. Death as doctrine. Sermons shift. Die to live. Starve until rapture. November broadcast. God told me. The week small fast. The mass fasts. Families in pods of 10. No food, prayers only. Testimony of survivor Titus Juma, 35. I saw a boy, 12, dig his own grave saying, Pastor said it's my time. He lay in, prayed, and stopped breathing. Autopsies later say there's dehydration, malnutrition, 80% emaciated to 60% body weight.
Today we managed to do 10 postmortems. The total number of postmortems that we did today were 24.
The autopsies proved it. Malnutrition was not the only cause of death among Paul Mackenzie's followers. Victims strangled, suffocated, missing organs on some bodies, but also sexual abuse, notably of children.
We have some leads. Those shanties may have been used, probably, for sex orgies.
It was difficult to escape because he had many security men, and if found escaping, it was easy for you to be killed. Burials were like weddings because people were killed and a large mass grave would be dug. So, if it's 10 who have been killed, they would be buried en masse. And if you witness that, you must keep your composure, or else you could collapse or lose control of yourself. After the burial of those killed, we would be given 2 packets of biscuits and half a cup of juice to celebrate. Then we would be denied food again, and whoever fell into a bad state would be taken to be killed and later be buried.
The deaths accelerated, 50 by December. Thicket buzzing with flies because of all the dead corpses and they were buried shallow. Hyenas prowl edges, dragging limbs. Flock peaks at 5,000, but deserters whisper to Malindi police. Some people ran away. Ignored as cult rumors. No one listened to them. Even when they told the police in 2022, they were like, yeah. Been there, done that, whispers, rumors. So 2023, now the massacre unfolds. April rescue and revelations. In January, Mackenzie declares final fast. No water now. Jesus quenches all. February, 100 deaths. Graves in rows like garden beds. In March, survivors start fleeing. A woman to Malindi Hospital whispered, they are dying for rapture.
I told my friends we should escape. We would rather die in the forest than continue seeing what was happening there. Then one night, we decided to escape.
Now pushed to April 21st, DCI raids after tip-off. Rescuers hack through 10-kilometer thicket, finding 30 survivors, gowned as ghosts.
They went to the forest now. Then straight to where my people lived. The firstborn was held by the grandmother. She was like in a state of prayer, praying for the child. The child was very weak, very, very weak. So the police, what they did, they just ran, they grabbed the child. And the grandmother, seeing that there were new people around her, she ran away, disappeared into the forest. They gave glucose to the child. They said that he had been fasting for about 7 days, 1 week. He was emaciated. You could see the ribs. When he was asked about the whereabouts of the 2 brothers, he told them that the 2 brothers had already gone to see Jesus, meaning they died. And he showed them the graves. In fact, he told them that the clothes that he was wearing had been bought specifically for the burial by his father.
Here is little Ephraim, on the day the police rescued him.
April 22nd, Mackenzie is arrested in hiding. Salmon tapes seized. Starve my lambs. Heaven awaits. Exhumations begin. 429 bodies by May. Mass graves 2 meters deep. Bodies layered like cordwood. In the autopsy report, 90% starvation. Some poisoned and children under 5 predominate. Victim profiles: Maria, 8, starved beside her grandmother. Joseph, 45, a fisherman who sold his boat for the garden. Survivor Violet Gumawa, 22, I held my sister as she faded. Her last words, see Jesus? I saw only the thicket closing. Rescue expands. 2,000 survivors by June. Many with organ failure. And in 2024, the dig continues. Exhumations resume. January, yielding 21 more. Total 450 by September 2025. DNA matches families. A mother identifies her daughter by a braided bracelet. Mackenzie's co-accused, 25 arrested, including his wife. This timeline unveils the slow horror, not sudden, but a doctrinal drip, turning faith to famine, from radio whispers to grave digging hunts. Shakahola's descent was a rift widening daily. Imagine a father's arms around his starving child, whispering prayers as the thicket watches indifferent. The investigation's blade cuts next. Hacking through the thicket, DCI's descendant into the graves. The probe began April 22nd, 2023. DCI storming Mackenzie's Malindi hideout, seizing laptops, summon tapes, a rapture manual outlining starvation steps. Kifili County Commissioner Charobet said, "We found hell. Bodies in every glade." Teams of 200 with pathologists from Nairobi hacked 20-kilometer pass, mapping 100 graves and autopsies at Malindi sub-county hospitals. Children, kwashiorkor, marasmus, belly bloat from protein void. And the exhumations? May 2023, 191 bodies, shallow pits, lined with branches, hyenas scarred, DNA lab in Nairobi, 200 samples, matching over 300 families by July. Victim ledger: 430 adults, 20 children under 10, many women, 60%. And Mackenzie's network, 25 co-accused, including Groda Mumbwaya, his deputy who enforced fasts, and his wife, obviously. Interrogations: Mackenzie confidently sat and said, "God commanded it. They chose heaven." DCI reports 500 pages, sermons from 2016 to 2023, and bank records. Mackenzie amassed 100 million shillings from tithe for land. Radiologues: Timiza aired between 2017 to 2021, and it was banned in 2022 after complaints. Took them some time to do that, didn't they? But Kifili police ignored tips. A 2021 report of a dying follower dismissed as a cult business. In 2024 phase, January exhumations, 21 more bodies, so that's a total of 450. Forensic anthropology, graves dated to 2019. Oldest a 60-year-old grandmother. Survival investigations, over 500 statements. Titus Juma said he made us dig our own graves, said it was faith's test. On the rift is like regulatory failure, no cult registry, radios unchecked. That's what I was saying about how could this be running on radio? You're giving him the platform to do wrong for all those years. By 2025, probe ongoing, Mackenzie's assets frozen, but justice is slower. Imagine. Pathologists in masks uncovering bones in the heat. Each find a family's fresh wound. The trials gavel awaits. And oh my goodness, if I tell you there was like trial drama, The prophet in the dock, Mackenzie. Okay. Milimani Law Courts, Nairobi, right? Paul Mackenzie, 50, in orange prison garb. Faces 450 murder counts, torture, child endangerment. And his co-accused, 29, including the 29 people, including Magdalene. The prosecutor said, "This is genocide by starvation." Mackenzie said, "God will judge you." And a trial opened July 2023. A Justice Edwin Branch proceeding. 100 witnesses lined up, testimonies unfold. A survivor Ruth Ndala said he locked us in fasts. My daughter died in my arms. Her last breath a prayer. And then pathologist Dr. Midia said autopsies show deliberate emaciation, so no food residues, only prayer beads in fists. Mackenzie's defense, led by lawyer Wycliffe Opere, I have no right to judge these lawyers that defend such people, but yeah, you gotta make a living, so who am I to judge? But he claims quote unquote religious freedom. Constitution protects faith practices, but affidavits reveal coercion. A 2022 sermon, refuse food or you're antichrist. So there you go. And in 2024 twists, Mackenzie's hunger strike, ironically starving in custody, and then hospitalized in March. Co-accused stands, we have Rhoda Mumbwa, who pleaded guilty. She testifies. He ordered graves dug weekly. So by September 2025, trial is in phase 3. 80 witnesses heard, verdict pending. We have to wait and find out in 2026. I'll give you an update if there's any by then, because right now it's ongoing. And bail denied because of the risk of flight to thicket. Families pack coats, chants of justice for the dead. One mother says he smiles like the devil. My son trusted that smile, but here we are. The drama's rift is like faith versus law, where prophecy meets persecution. Hear the echoes, testimonies clashing like thicket vines, a courtroom thick with ghosts waiting for the gavel's fall. The nation, how can I say, the nation was really, the streets of Nairobi swelled with protests like ban cults went trending on X. The banners were also lifted with the hashtag ban cults and doomsday preachers. President Ruto also said religious freedom ends at harm. It has happened. We've seen it happening over and over again. I'm from Uganda. It happened in Uganda, and there's a recent thing that happened recently. I'm going to do that in a story. I won't do that in in a short. So I won't do that here. But it's like Mackenzie twisted the cross. It's not bad to be religious, but people use religion against others. 450 people died for a rapture with a fake pastor that was once a taxi driver. A lot of people become pastors for the wrongest reasons ever. Some for money, others just want to feel that power. A lot of guys like to be in power. Mostly those that have never had it, and when they do, they feel like gods. There are many NGOs mobilizing, like Red Cross treated 300 survivors. PTSD rates were 80%. Daily Nation series, like Inside the Starvation Cult. There's international news, the BBC, Kenya's Jonestown. There's the public rift, debate on regulation, right, of these religious organizations. They proposed the 2024 cult control bill that's still stalling in the parliament. Families voiced their concerns and what they expect from the laws, but as you know, everything is in delay, it's lingering here and there. Shakahola's thicket is condoned. Graves marked with crosses. 450 names eked in the Malindi Memorial. The 2024 Religious Organizations Bill, mandatory registration, anti-extremism clauses, but enforcement is really, really weak. New cults sprout in Lamu, everywhere. Before you know it, there's another cult here, another self-acclaimed prophet saying this and that, holy rice or whatever. Some people started saying that from now on they teach their children to question prophets. I really pity some kids that were taken there by their parents because they literally had no, so where your mother goes, you go, like the 4-year-old. what is that person going to really do? As we emerge from Shakahola's thicket, the baobab stands sentinel. A reminder, fanaticism isn't thunder, it's the slow creep of unchecked whispers. The 450 souls trusted a voice to heaven. It led to graves. Like Changuli's locked doors or Shitole's charming lies, rifts devour when vigilance sleeps. Honor them. Light a lantern for the lost. Question the prophets. Hold faith to light's test. Until next time on Beneath the Rift, stay curious and ever discerning.